The ZX-1 EVO is an all-new aero bike from Vitus. However, it's an aero bike with some interesting claims around it. Or should that be lack of? But before we get into that, a big thank you to our kit sponsors Freewheel. If you like any of the kit that you see in these videos, then you can find links to them in the video description below. As always, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon for more independent reviews from BikeRadar. Around 2 years ago, Vitus started with a blank piece of paper and then they released the ZX-1. At the time, and as you'd expect from any self-respecting bike brand, they were pretty happy with it. But never satisfied, Vitus have recently redesigned the ZX-1 to the ZX-1 EVO, and that's the bike you see before me. Now, so far this has all been standard aero bike affairs. You'd expect me to reel off a bunch of numbers and claims about the ZX-1 EVO being X seconds faster over a certain distance because of Z. But here's where things get a little more interesting. In the press release of the new ZX-1 EVO, Vitus refreshingly admits that out in the real world, there are just too many variables that make most aero claims fairly meaningless to you and me. They even name some of them. So we've got things like sock height, what helmet you're wearing, your own flexibility, and even if you can super tuck. Instead, they only mention, and I'm quoting here, "We've tested this bike's aerodynamics to validate our own design decisions. It exhibits up to 45% less drag than the previous ZX-1 when built as a full bike." And then they finish up by saying, "Trust us when we say we've done our bit, and this bike is fast. The rest is up to you." So I guess what they're really saying is, we know our bike is faster than the previous model. It's now up to you to pedal it faster. Now, whether this is just more subtle marketing or not, it's nice to hear a more refreshing take on an aero bike's claimed performance. And if you're not into digging deep into the numbers, this simplifies things a fair bit. The bike is faster, and that's all you need to know. So, what's new? Well, if you compare the new EVO to the old ZX-1, then pretty much everything has changed. The frame looks far more like a traditional aero bike with deeper tube profiles at the back. Vitus claims that they've been able to increase the stiffness and reduce the weight, although you'll have to take a leap of faith there, as the press release doesn't contain any information. Now, no modern aero bike would be complete without fully integrating the cables and the hoses, and this EVO is no different. Although really pleasingly, they've been able to get this fully integrated design onto every level of the EVO range. This is a real rarity, as most brands only manage to do that on their flagship bikes. But when it comes to the more affordable models, there's usually some sort of compromise involving around external cables, just normally around the bar and stem. With the EVO, no matter what you pay, you're going to be getting the real deal. Now, where Vitus really score highly on this bike is, just like the internal cable routing, they haven't compromised on the wheels. When you're looking at aero road bike competition, especially at the lower end, most of the big brands will fit what they optimistically call training wheels. Normally that means a shallow alloy, mid to low end heavyweight wheel, which doesn't do anything for aero. Now with Vitus and this ZX-1 EVO, it doesn't matter which bike you buy in the whole range, so that's from the entry-level version, the Shimano 105 one, right up to the Di2 and ETAP bikes. They all come with Reynolds proper carbon tubeless aero wheel sets. So if we look a little bit more onto this bike, the wheels in question, Reynolds AR 5862 Aero. Really, really nice wheel set, deep carbon, very stable in the wind, tubeless ready, and on their own they'd retail for over £1,200. So when you consider this bike in total costs £2,799, that's a pretty good percentage is in some really, really good wheels. On top of that, you also get Prime's Primavera Aero Carbon Bar and FSA's really clever SMR ACS stem. And that combined with the FSA headset means you can get that full internal integration. Now, back to the prices. As some of you may be aware, Vitus are owned by online giants Chain Reaction Cycles, who also own Wiggle. Chances are, if you're a cyclist, at some point you'll have bought something from one of these huge companies. This means you can only buy the ZX-1 EVO online. So if you do like to try before you buy, that's not great. However, what it does mean is that Vitus can be incredibly competitive with their prices. The top spec ZX-1 EVO CRX ETAP Axis costs just £5,399. Now, nearly £5,500 is still a lot of money, but when you consider it comes with SRAM's top spec wireless group set, aftermarket wheels from Reynolds and Vision's carbon bar, then the price starts to look a lot more enticing. And it's definitely worth remembering that a similarly spec bike from the likes of Cannondale, Trek, Bianchi, Specialized, Cervelo, all of those would start at around 10 grand. In total, there are 5 models available and they're priced between £5,399 for the top spec model and the one I've already mentioned, this 105 one, for £2,799. There's a variety of specs across all 5 models, but they all feature really good stuff from really big brands. We're talking the likes of Shimano, SRAM, Reynolds, Schwalbe, Vision and FSA. So the bike has only just recently arrived, so I've hardly had any real time to ride it, no more than a couple of hours. But what I will say so far is, yes, it is fast, devastatingly rapid. On the terrain like you see here, so nice rolling country, it just is bullet quick, so good in a straight line, really, really stable in the wind, which is a big surprise when you're talking wheels of this depth. And I'm really, really looking forward to getting out on it a lot more. Although I would say, like most aero bikes, the ZX-1 comes equipped with 25mm tyres. On the sort of roads that I'm riding on constantly, I'd always go for a 28, that little bit more comfort, that little bit more protection. That said, the 25mm tyres on this bike are Schwalbe ones and they are set up tubeless, so it's about as good as you'll get from a 25mm. So there we have the Vitus ZX-1 EVO. Do you think they've got it right, or would you still go for something from one of the major brands? Are you happy to see a top spec aero bike at a relatively affordable price? Or is 5k still too much? As always, we'd love to know what you think in the comments. Finally, thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon so every time we upload a new video, you get a notification.